10 tons is the weight of the massive industrial chassis used as the foundation for these radical engineering transformations. Engineers and customizers do not merely modify existing frames, but completely reconstruct the architecture of heavy-duty cargo trucks to create oversized pickups. These machines possess the immense power of a semi-truck while adopting the aggressive aesthetics of a custom-built dragster. One can notice how the original hydraulic systems are integrated into a new, polished body that defies standard automotive proportions. Why would a builder choose to convert a 10-ton commercial vehicle into a luxury pickup? It only looks obvious that such a massive frame would be difficult to maneuver on public roads. But in reality, the structural integrity of a heavy truck provides a unique platform for high-performance engines and luxury amenities that a standard consumer vehicle simply cannot support. Custom fabricators begin by stripping the original cargo trucks down to the bare metal rails. It seems simple to remove a trailer hitch and replace it with a pickup bed, but this is just the beginning. The process involves recalibrating the entire suspension system to handle the change in weight distribution without sacrificing the aggressive stance required for a custom show truck. The camera glides along the reinforced steel frame as it is shortened and welded back together with millimeter precision. It is visible how the cooling systems are enlarged to prevent the massive engines from overheating during high-speed runs. These engines are often tuned to deliver thousands of horsepower, allowing a vehicle weighing 20,000 pounds to accelerate with the speed of a lighter sports car. Everything only gets more complicated when engineers integrate digital monitoring systems into the vintage dashboards of the original cabs. The process of ensuring these giants are street legal requires meeting rigorous safety and emission standards. At first glance, a truck with wheels the height of a person seems impossible to register for highway use. But in reality, by following strict engineering protocols for lighting, braking, and steering, these monsters are fully registered and capable of turning heads on any city street. The equipment gradually transforms into a polished, street-legal machine that retains the soul of a heavy-duty hauler. One can observe the transition to the next level as the interior of the truck is lined with premium materials. Leather seats, high-fidelity audio systems, and custom lighting are installed into the cavernous cabins. The metal lays in an even layer of high-gloss paint that covers the massive fenders and the custom fabricated truck bed. And this is not the limit, as the final details include chrome accents and massive exhaust stacks that vent the power of a diesel-fed heart. These conversions are the result of an obsession with presence and technical style. The final machine is an engineering marvel that challenges the perception of what a pickup truck can be. From the initial demolition of the cargo frame to the final application of a clear coat, the transformation remains a deliberate and calculated industrial achievement. The journey of the heavy cargo truck concludes as it reaches its final extreme form as a high-performance pickup. 403 cubic inches is the displacement of the 6.6-liter inline-six diesel engine powering this heavy-duty machine. Why would anyone transform a massive Brazilian industrial truck from the 1980s and 90s into a custom pickup? At first glance, the task of reshaping such a large vehicle seems simple, but in reality, it requires a complete technical overhaul to balance its industrial roots with its new role as a high-performance showpiece. This specific project began its life as a Ford F-12000, a model originally engineered to transport several tons of cargo across the rugged terrain of South America. The process is only gaining momentum. Engineers start by preserving the original diesel power plant, which generates between 150 and 170 horsepower. This engine produces over 370 pound-feet of torque, providing enough mechanical force to propel the oversized frame through any environment. One can notice how the equipment gradually adapts as the chassis is reinforced to support a 5-speed manual transmission and a heavy-duty rear axle. The suspension is not merely lifted, but entirely reworked to manage the higher center of gravity and the added mass of the specialty wheels. It gets more complex further on. The body undergoes a total resculpting process where the fenders are widened and the bed is stretched to create a muscular silhouette reminiscent of North American styling. It is visible how the metal lays in an even layer after being shaped to match the signature Ford Series bulk at the front end. Every panel is beefed up to ensure the structural integrity matches the intimidation of the towering stance. Giant tires are installed to complete the visual transformation, measuring significantly taller and wider than standard truck components. The camera glides along the massive rubber treads that allow the truck to dominate the road while maintaining a street-legal status. This requires a rigorous certification process where every technical modification is registered and inspected for safety compliance. Inside the cabin, the environment shifts from industrial utility to refined luxury. One can notice the contrast as the rugged exterior gives way to hand-stitched leather seats and a fully restored dashboard. A high-quality sound system is integrated into the interior, creating a soft balance between the external mechanical noise and internal comfort. The truck has already gained international recognition at specialized automotive exhibitions in Brazil. It serves as a physical demonstration of technical precision and custom engineering. Everything only gets more complicated as the builds progress in scale. The deep vibration of the diesel engine signals the completion of this specific assembly phase. This machine stands as a finished bridge between heavy-duty heritage and modern customization. The transformation of the F12000 concludes here, leaving a material ready for the road. 296 horsepower and over 810 pound-feet of torque define the mechanical heart of a machine that defies standard classification. Why would anyone attempt to transform a heavy-duty Scania 111S commercial hauler into a custom pickup truck? At first glance, the project seems like an impossible engineering contradiction, but the execution proves that the legacy of European workhorses can be adapted into a modern custom rig. This specific build takes the foundation of a legendary vehicle known in Brazil as the Jacaré Alligator due to its sloping hood and aggressive forward stance, and retools it into a one-of-a-kind automotive statement. The transformation begins with the original power plant from the 1976 launch model. One can notice how the massive 11-liter inline-six diesel engine remains positioned in the engine bay, preserved as the primary source of power. This engine was originally engineered to move heavy freight across entire countries, but it now propels a vehicle focused on aesthetic dominance. The process is only gaining momentum. A long-throw manual transmission is retained to preserve the authentic heavy trucker experience during operation. Why was the original suspension discarded in favor of a full air ride system? To the eye, the modification seems purely for comfort, but in reality, it allows the massive frame to achieve a slammed look when stationary. This air ride setup interacts with modified rear-wheel drive geometry that has been precisely calculated to suit the truck's new, shorter proportions. One can notice how the tall cab and iconic round headlights remain perfectly intact, maintaining the recognizable Scania silhouette. It gets more complex further on. A custom metal pickup bed is integrated behind the cab, designed to look as though it emerged from a futuristic heavy-duty manufacturing plant. This new structure must align with the vintage character of the 1970s steel while projecting modern aggression. It only looks obvious to assume this build is for hauling, but in reality, its sole function is to dominate custom car meets and classic truck exhibitions. The deep growling exhaust from the 11-liter engine resonates at a frequency that stops observers in their tracks. The scale of the bodywork remains imposing, emphasizing that this machine never attempts to hide its industrial origins. Every structural detail feels deliberate, from the reinforced frame to the polished surfaces of the custom bed. Transition to the next level. Respect for tradition meets a high-risk engineering philosophy in this Brazilian conversion. The proportions are balanced to ensure the heavy-duty components do not overwhelm the pickup aesthetic. Thus, the Scania 111S reaches a state where its history as a freight hauler is celebrated through a radical new form. The journey of this mechanical transformation concludes here, leaving the vehicle ready to display its power on the show floor. 170 to 200 horsepower provides the baseline mechanical force for the Ford F700, a machine that challenges the traditional boundaries between industrial utility and custom aesthetics. Why would a mid-size commercial workhorse originally designed for urban hauling and towing services be reimagined as a gargantuan pickup truck? The answer lies in the structural versatility of the medium-duty chassis, which allows for a transformation that results in a vehicle appearing as though it emerged directly from the set of a high-budget cinematic production. A 6.6-liter inline-six diesel engine or a heavy-duty V8 gasoline power plant sits beneath the elongated hood, generating 440 pound-feet of torque to ensure substantial pulling capability. It gets more complex further on. This torque is managed through a traditional long-throw manual gearbox that requires deliberate mechanical shifts from the operator. One can notice how the rear-wheel drive configuration remains intact, though the architecture beneath the body has undergone significant technical revision. Engineers integrated reinforced axles and a completely recalibrated suspension system to support the new dimensions and weight distribution of the custom pickup body. The camera glides along the massive frame rails that now carry a bespoke bed instead of a commercial cargo box or towing apparatus. Wide grills and squared headlights preserve the recognizable aesthetic of the classic Ford F-Series, maintaining a visual link to its production heritage. But this is just the beginning. The most prominent modification is the custom-engineered bed, which is fabricated from heavy-duty sheet sheet metal and features aggressively flared fenders to accommodate the increased track width. It only looks obvious to call this a simple body swap, but in reality, every panel must be aligned to match the height and sheer boldness of the oversized tires. The body sits at a height that allows the truck to function as a literal wall of steel moving down the road. Despite its intimidating proportions and industrial origins, the vehicle maintains full street-legal status, allowing it to transition from the floor of a custom automotive show to the center of a city street without modification. The process of transformation extends into the cabin, where the original utilitarian environment has been replaced with high-quality custom seating and an updated dashboard. One can notice how the interior balances the tactile analog feel of a vintage work truck with the ergonomics required for modern road presence. Most observers fail to recognize the commercial roots of the Ford F700 until the technical specifications are revealed, at which point the scale of the engineering feat becomes clear. Transition to the next level. This build serves as a physical demonstration of how vision and technical skill can repurpose a standard medium-duty chassis into a unique rolling showpiece. The heavy-duty components ensure that the truck retains its functional soul while occupying a space usually reserved for light-duty custom pickups. The steel structure is finished and the vehicle stands ready to demonstrate the hybrid potential of heavy-duty machinery. 440 pound-feet of torque is a significant figure, yet it represents only one facet of the machine's capabilities. The next stage of the evolution in truck and pickup hybrids moves into even larger territory with the Peterbilt 379. This transition marks the shift from mid-size commercial frames to the absolute limit of heavy-duty semi-truck customization. 425 horsepower is the output of the heart beating beneath the hood of this mechanical anomaly. This custom machine is the result of a father and son team transforming a 1992 Peterbilt 379 into a street-legal pickup truck that rivals the dimensions of a naval battleship. It represents a total reconstruction of one of the most iconic long-haul vehicles in history, repurposed for the road as a full custom hybrid. Why would anyone merge a heavy-duty semi-truck with a standard pickup body? At first glance, the combination seems impossible due to the sheer scale of the components. But in reality, this fusion allows for a vehicle that possesses the brute strength of a commercial hauler and the drivability of a passenger truck. One can notice how the engine compartment houses a Caterpillar 379 425 power plant. This inline-six diesel unit features a displacement of 14.6 liters, which equates to approximately 892 cubic inches. It generates more than 1,475 pound-feet of torque, a figure originally intended for transporting heavy freight across vast continental distances. This engine does not merely provide movement, it pushes the custom frame with a relentless force that is rare for any vehicle with a license plate. But this is just the beginning. The transmission remains a 13-speed manual, identical to the units found on the open road in commercial logistics. Operating this gearbox requires physical muscle and significant technical experience to navigate the ratios correctly. It is visible how the chassis of the original Peterbilt was modified to accommodate the body of a Dodge Ram 3500. The frame was stretched with precision to ensure a perfect fit between the industrial backbone and the consumer body. Everything only gets more complicated when considering the mechanical integration. It looks superficially simple to bolt a body to a frame, but in reality, the engineers had to reinforce the axles and rework the entire suspension system to manage the massive weight. The truck utilizes a rear-wheel drive configuration that maintains the Highway King characteristics of the original semi. The visual transition is executed with jewelry-like precision. The hood of the Ram blends seamlessly into the structure of the Peterbilt cab, creating a silhouette that is both massive and refined. Chrome vertical exhausts rise high into the air, while widened rear fenders and a custom metal bed complete the rear profile. The equipment gradually takes on a life of its own at truck meets and custom shows across the United States. Crowds gather and phones are raised to capture the scale of the build, as even seasoned truckers stop to observe the craftsmanship. The project was born from months of intensive labor between two generations of builders, turning it into a functional mechanical legacy. The process is only gaining momentum. This heavy-duty luxury hybrid serves as a testament to what is possible when industrial power is reshaped into a unique form. From here, the narrative moves to the next phase, where another equally bold machine waits to be examined. 1953 marked marked the beginning of the production for the Mack B series, an era of heavy-duty engineering that lasted until 1966. This specific build takes the legendary chassis and reimagines it as a custom pickup that merges vintage aesthetics with modern muscle. Every component reflects an obsessive attention to detail, turning the once industrial workhorse into a rolling tribute to American automotive history. Why would a builder choose the B series for a high-end pickup transformation? At first glance, the massive scale of a commercial truck seems ill-suited for a personal vehicle, but in reality, the iconic curves and the distinctively long hood provide a structural elegance that modern frames cannot replicate. One can notice how the custom fabricated bed follows the original body lines with millimeter precision. The process is only gaining momentum as the mechanical heart remains faithful to its roots. An inline-6 diesel engine provides the power, echoing the legacy of the original 7.0 to 11-liter power plants. Specifically, the build honors the 210 to 250 horsepower range of the original units, delivering the immense torque necessary for a dominant street presence. It is visible how the 5-speed manual transmission connects the driver directly to the rear-wheel drive system. The equipment includes a reinforced rear axle, redesigned to support its new life as a high-end showpiece. This is not the limit of the modifications. The cab restoration preserves the historic silhouette while integrating flared fenders and tall profile tires that fill the arches completely. Chrome wheels reflect the surrounding light as the vehicle maneuvers through vintage car expos. The deep rumble of the diesel engine signals its arrival long before the immaculate finish becomes visible to the crowd. It only looks obvious that such a build would earn respect, but in reality, achieving a factory-level fit and finish requires thousands of hours of manual labor. Everything only gets more complicated when balancing modern street dominance with historical preservation. Because the soul of the original truck remains intact, onlookers often mistake the custom pickup for a rare factory prototype. Every bolt and every panel has been aligned to ensure the structural integrity matches the visual perfection of the build. The transformation is now complete, leaving the shop as a finished masterpiece of craftsmanship. Molten potential has been frozen into a solid form of steel and chrome, ready for the next stage of its journey on the open road. $300,000 is the price for a machine that fundamentally redefines the capabilities of a modern pickup truck. Why would a vehicle require such an immense investment? The answer lies in the Ford F650 Super Truck, a vehicle that occupies a category entirely its own by merging industrial utility with high-end refinement. It only looks obvious that this is a heavy-duty hauler, but in reality, the machine functions as a rolling statement of power and engineering excess. One can notice how the original commercial chassis undergoes a total transformation during the build process. The foundation is the heavy-duty F650 frame, which maintains the robust DNA of the Ford commercial lineup while receiving extreme structural modifications. The result is a profile that suggests the soul of a semi-truck encased in the body of an elongated luxury limousine. But this is just the beginning. The heart of this mechanical beast is a 6.7-liter Power-Stroke turbo diesel inline-6 engine. This power plant generates 330 horsepower and a monstrous 750 pound-feet of torque to move its immense mass. This energy is managed by a 6-speed automatic transmission specifically calibrated for long-range stability and smooth gear transitions. Everything only gets more complicated as the engineering moves from the drivetrain to the suspension. Despite a total weight exceeding 11,000 pounds, the truck glides across highway surfaces with unexpected fluidity. Advanced suspension upgrades ensure the ride quality remains comfortable even when the vehicle maneuvers through dense urban environments or climbs steep inclines. A reinforced fuel tank holding over 66 gallons provides the capacity for hours of continuous cruising without the need for a single stop. The process is only gaining momentum. It is visible how the exterior design dominates every environment it enters through sheer scale and bold styling. High-mounted headlights and a massive chrome grille create a visual presence that is impossible to overlook. The body sits on oversized tires that elevate the vehicle far above standard traffic, while the camera glides along the polished surfaces of the custom bodywork. At first glance, it is a rugged tool, but the interior tells a different story. Inside the cabin, the environment rivals that of high-end executive sedans in both space and material quality. Passengers are surrounded by premium leather seats and can look out through a wide panoramic sunroof. A high-end audio system provides studio-quality sound, which is a stark contrast to the industrial rumble of the diesel engine outside. It gets more complex further on. These vehicles are frequently found in the garages of celebrities or as centerpieces in high-end and business fleets. At truck shows, they serve as head-turning status symbols that represent the absolute peak of custom automotive manufacturing. Some owners take the modification further by installing concert-grade sound systems that allow the vehicle to function as a mobile stage. One can notice the precision in every stitch of the upholstery and every bolt of the frame. Modesty is not a factor included in the design philosophy of the Super Truck package. The sheer scale of the machine ensures that it remains the focal point of any road it occupies. Transition to the next level. The extreme nature of this build serves as a precursor to even more specialized versions, such as the Black Edition. This specific model represents the conclusion of this stage of high-performance luxury truck development. 330 horsepower and over 750 pound-feet of torque define the mechanical heart of the Ford F650 Black Edition. Why would anyone attempt to navigate the narrow, historical corridors of Europe with a machine designed for the expansive highways of North America? It seems impossible at first glance, but in reality, this specific vehicle represents a massive engineering and logistical undertaking. The process began with the importation of a standard unit from the United States to Poland by the specialists at US Classic 24. Everything only gets more complicated as the technical adaptation begins. One can notice how the original white paint was completely stripped away to make room for a deep, intimidating black gloss finish. This aesthetic overhaul is what ultimately earned the vehicle its Black Edition designation. But this is just the beginning. While the exterior underwent a visual transformation, the core drivetrain remained a constant, featuring the 6.7-liter turbo-diesel inline-6 engine. This massive power plant is paired with a 6-speed automatic transmission that sends power exclusively to the rear wheels. It only looks obvious to change the color, but the legal hurdles required far more precision. Structural integrity was maintained by keeping the chassis untouched, yet the truck required extensive updates to meet strict European regulations. Technicians performed meticulous emissions adjustments and replaced the entire lighting system to comply with local road laws. Suspension calibration followed, ensuring the raised ride height remained stable on different pavement types. The process is only gaining momentum. After these mechanical shifts, the vehicle underwent a full legal certification process to permit its operation on public streets. Does the interior match the aggressive nature of the modified exterior? The cabin was outfitted with high-spec luxury features, including leather seats and refined materials throughout the spacious cab. One can notice how every detail is tailored for maximum comfort, creating a stark contrast with the rugged exterior. On the outside, oversized tires and dual exhaust stacks dominate the silhouette, while blacked-out chrome accents replace any reflective surfaces. The camera glides along the massive bodywork, highlighting the sheer scale of the machine compared to the compact cars that typically dominate European cities. The truck became an instant celebrity upon its debut, turning into a traffic-stopping event whenever it rolled through urban centers. It is visible how other drivers pull over to capture photos of the lifted giant, as such a sight is an anomaly in the local landscape. This successful transformation was made possible only through deep technical knowledge and a meticulous obsession with unique machinery. Transition to the next level. Even more extreme variations exist, such as the 6-door edition, which expands the footprint of this platform even further. The project concludes this phase, having successfully bridged the gap between American scale and European standards. 6 doors and an elongated chassis define this unique execution of automotive excess. Why would anyone stretch a heavy-duty truck to the dimensions of a commercial limousine? At first glance, the proportions seem impossible for a road vehicle, but in reality, the Ford F650 Lariat Dually is a precision-engineered custom build that functions as a high-capacity mobile lounge. The foundation is a 2006 pre-emission model, modified to accommodate 6 fully functional doors and an extended wheelbase. One can notice how the equipment gradually lowers itself toward the pavement when the vehicle is stationary. This is the result of a comprehensive air ride suspension system integrated into the front, the rear, and the cabin mounts. While standard trucks might use airbags only for towing, this platform utilizes them to provide a ride quality comparable to a luxury sedan. It gets more complex further on. The suspension allows the entire frame to kneel, reducing the ground clearance for a dramatic visual effect. 330 horsepower is the output generated by the 6.7-liter Power-Stroke turbo diesel engine located under the hood. This power plant produces over 750 pound-feet of torque, providing the mechanical force necessary to move a vehicle the size of a small recreational vehicle. It does not end at this stage. The engine is paired with an Allison push-button transmission, which is a commercial-grade automatic gearbox. One can observe the operator selecting gears with a simple press of a panel, allowing the heavy machinery to shift through its range with the smooth smoothness of a transport bus. Customization dominates every square inch of the exterior and interior. Dual rear wheels and oversized tires support the massive weight of the extended body, while chrome trim and bespoke paintwork cover the surface. Inside, the cabin resembles a luxury shuttle rather than a utility vehicle. Leather seating for a full crew, ambient lighting systems, and premium materials fill the expansive interior volume. The process is only gaining momentum. Exclusivity remains the primary driver for owners of such platforms. Despite the extreme dimensions, the six-door truck remains fully street legal and frequently appears at high-end expositions or promotional events. Celebrities and entrepreneurs utilize the vehicle for its significant shock factor and presence on the road. Everything only gets more complicated when compared to regional variants. While this North American build focuses on length, international markets have developed their own interpretations of the heavy-duty Ford frame. You may not have heard of the Ford F-Max, which represents the next level of this evolution. Thus, the transition from standard truck to custom giant is complete. 220 horsepower is the output generated by the specialized power unit of the Brazilian Ford F-Max. Why would engineers combine a heavy-duty commercial truck chassis with the aesthetic of a standard passenger pickup? It only looks obvious to assume this is a mere styling exercise, but in reality, the integration of a Ford Cargo 1722 frame allows for a load capacity that far exceeds conventional light trucks. This hybrid creation serves as a bridge between industrial hauling and private luxury. Tropical Cabins manufactures this vehicle by mating a 6.1-liter inline-six diesel engine to a reinforced rear-wheel drive system. The engine displacement reaches approximately 372 cubic inches, producing over 590 pound-feet of torque. One can notice how the heavy-duty components of the chassis remain visible beneath the custom bodywork. The process is only gaining momentum as the mechanical assembly meets the exterior shell. The body design draws direct inspiration from the Ford F-250, featuring a wide front end and a bold, aggressive grille. A custom cargo bed of massive proportions is integrated into the structure to ensure the vehicle remains functional for transport, businesses, and farmers. It is visible how the aggressive headlights and lifted stance give the machine the silhouette of a miniature American semi-trailer. But this is just the beginning. Inside the cabin, the environment shifts from rugged utility to unexpected comfort through the inclusion of factory-installed air conditioning and plush seating. A redesigned dashboard replaces the standard commercial interface to provide a more refined driving experience. Every single unit produced was the result of a specific custom order, which ensured that no two vehicles were identical. Everything only gets more complicated when considering the rarity of these machines on the global market. Only a small number of these conversions were ever completed, making the Ford F-Max one of the rarest automotive specimens in South America. While most remain in Brazil, some units have been exported to Bolivia and Paraguay, where they have transitioned into the status of highly sought-after collector's items. The manual 5 or 6-speed transmission allows the driver to maintain total control over the heavy-duty drivetrain during operation. Transition to the next level. Because the vehicle is built on a truck chassis, it possesses the durability required for intensive labor while maintaining the visual appeal of a luxury toy. The wide wheel arches and reinforced suspension components highlight its ability to navigate difficult terrain under load. It seems simple to categorize it as a show truck, but in reality, its engineering is rooted in the demands of heavy cargo transport. The vehicle stands as a testament to regional engineering ingenuity. The final vehicle in this progression will challenge the established definitions of what a pickup truck can achieve in terms of scale. As the Ford F-Max concludes its demonstration of form and function, the focus moves toward even more extreme interpretations of automotive design. The material characteristics of these heavy-duty hybrids provide a foundation for the next stage of development. From here, the narrative moves toward the most unconventional concept in the series. 40 million rubles is the staggering price point that challenges the very definition of what a pickup truck can be. Why would a client invest the equivalent of over $400,000 into a single vehicle? One might assume a standard luxury sedan would suffice for such a sum, but in reality, this capital was used to transform a heavy-duty industrial platform into a 6-story mega luxury monster. This specific build, commissioned for a client in Russia, serves as a physical manifestation of power and unapologetic wealth. The International 7500 typically serves as a foundational architecture for military transports, emergency response units, or extreme extreme industrial applications. From the factory, the machine is equipped with massive diesel engines with a displacement of up to 12 liters. These power plants generate between 330 and 370 horsepower while producing over 1,200 pound-feet of torque. One can notice how the raw mechanical might of the chassis provides a rigid base for the subsequent structural modifications. But this is just the beginning. It seems like a simple task to upgrade a cabin, but in reality, the engineering required to stretch the body to accommodate 6 full-size doors is immense. The custom bodywork elevates the vehicle into legendary territory, making it appear as though it emerged directly from a science fiction narrative. The camera glides along the elongated frame where a custom-built bed has been scaled to match the massive proportions of the lifted and reinforced suspension. Enormous tires support the weight, creating a visual presence that is entirely unreal. Everything only gets more complicated as the focus shifts to the mechanical drivetrain. 5 or 6-speed automatic transmissions manage the output, distributing force through a 4x4 all-wheel drive system designed to tackle any terrain. The process is only gaining momentum. Inside the cabin, the environment transitions from a war machine into a private jet. High-end leather upholstery covers every surface, complemented by premium trim and high-tech control interfaces. It is visible how the interior provides enough space for passengers to stretch out completely in what is essentially a rolling lounge bolted to a heavy-duty frame. Whether the vehicle is stationed outside a luxury hotel or navigating through dense city streets, its scale ensures it cannot be ignored. The distinction between a functional work truck and a luxury vehicle has all but disappeared in this build. At first glance, it is a tool for transport, but in reality, it is a testament to technical creativity and significant financial investment. The equipment remains a symbol of excess, proving that with enough resources, the limits of automotive design are redefined. This marks the conclusion of the exploration into these 10 colossal machines. 10 colossal machines have been examined, and their existence confirms that such projects require both immense creativity and significant financial investment. Why do engineers and private builders dedicate thousands of hours to these transformations? At first glance, it might seem like a simple modification of a standard utility vehicle, but in reality, these are not mere pickup conversions, as they represent a complete reconstruction of mechanical limits and personal ambition. Everything only gets more complicated as the scale of the builds increases. It is visible how the equipment gradually transitions from backyard father and son projects to international luxury customs costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. One can notice how every bolt and hydraulic line is positioned with jewelry-like precision to ensure the machine functions under extreme loads. Each of these 10 vehicles challenges conventional ideas of automotive proportion and then exceeds those boundaries by a significant margin. These machines were never designed to blend into standard traffic or remain unnoticed in a parking lot. They function as rolling declarations of engineering capability and status, proving that rugged utility vehicles can be transformed into symbols of pure power. The process is only gaining momentum. Whether the goal is to tell a specific story or to manifest mechanical dominance, these pickups achieve it through sheer physical presence. They are undeniably bold, characterized by loud engines and unforgettable dimensions that command the space around them. One can notice the way the light reflects off custom fabricated body panels and reinforced suspension components. These are objects driven by passion and engineered with professional skill, often containing a calculated touch of mechanical madness within their blueprints. But this is just the beginning. Individual preferences determine which of these insane pickups would occupy a garage if financial constraints were entirely removed. Every build leaves a different impression based on its technical complexity or the specific heavy-duty truck used as its foundation. Transition to the next level. Customizing a heavy-duty truck into a unique pickup requires a vision of what the final form should achieve in terms of both aesthetics and utility. A single like or subscription serves as a technical signal to the distribution algorithms that this content is valuable. This interaction ensures that the analysis of outrageous machines on wheels continues on a weekly basis without interruption. The exploration of these extreme engineering feats concludes for now. Thus, the material reaches a standard ready for the further stage of the narrative.